the Spectrum post, we're going to go straight into this. Don't play Star Citizen anymore. I prefer to wait for further updates. By Ricky Marv. Hey guys, I'm in that situation where you think about how cool Star Citizen is for 1,000 reasons, but then don't play it for more than 30 minutes. For me, today's gameplay is slow, tedious, very boring. There is no sense of progress. For example, with the missions. Doesn't matter if you do millions of missions of the same type, you'll simply progress through that branch in doing the same thing constantly, but harder. And the missions. Oh god, that narrative. Those non-existent NPCs. The fact that the core of the playable game is the missions and that 100% of them start from the same thing kills me. Read a text with more or less lore and go to the place in question to do X. It's 2024 guys, even the weirdest indie game has more elaborate narrative. I'll read it all out and then I'll come back. Also, nothing belongs to you. I know it'll eventually happen. Hopefully we are alive at that time. I don't know if the freight elevators and the new hangars will change this perception in the slightest. When I play SC, I feel it's just plain an empty shell that in X amount of time will be reset again. The little progress you manage to make either by accumulating money after having completed bland missions or by accumulating equipment, weapons, etc. eventually will disappear. I haven't played for months now. I decided to wait until we actually get Pyro 4.0 until apparently we'll have a more polished game, although I don't think that will change much. Don't get me wrong, I love SC. I've spent countless hours playing it, flying through space, going to different planets, exploring, doing missions, learning new things about the game every time, but SC really needs a good scrubbing to make it fun and entertaining to play. Hopefully one day that idea of SC where you own a base on a random planet, go out and explore, hunt, etc. and everything is fluid and fun will ever happen. For now, I'll wait. Is anyone feeling the same way as me with the game? I really love SC, love to play it, not that much now as you can see, love to think how amazing it will be to play this in the near future, but right now I'd rather see content, scripted, bug-free, etc. than play a broken game. What do you guys think? Another reason why I chose this particular topic, this particular Spectrum post to look at, is because there's this term that keeps being used called progress. The people are talking about progress. I want to be able to progress through the game. But when they added missions that you can progress through, it's not good enough. I want to do base building. I want to build a base. I want to progress by building a base. And it's all right, well, what happens then? You build the base and then what? My opinion on Star Citizen, it's a survival-based sim set in a space setting. We have spaceships. It's not a full-on hardcore survival sim because it has different environments where there's civilized infrastructure and non-civilized infrastructure, right? Hot take, Star Citizen is doing roleplay. The content is what you make of it, including PvE missions and interaction with other players. Yes. I don't know what these people expect when they're talking about progress. Because when I sit there and I think through it, I'm like, okay, progress means that you have an objective, you work towards that objective, and then once you've hit the goal, you pick your next objective and move on, right? So if you want to max out your bounty missions, you do all the bounty missions until you've done that. And then afterwards, you're sweet, I'm done. And then you pick another objective and move on. And this is a reason why I have an issue with players who just only want to do PvE based content. It is really difficult to do systemic PvE content where it doesn't need much developer input after you've done it, right? A lot of PvE based games or games where it's not systemically built to be able to recycle the content for the user needs constant developer input. They need expansions, they need to add new dungeons, they need to add new equipment, they need to add new professions, they need to add new skills so that those who only consume PvE based content are entertained. Because once they get to the end of doing all the PvE based stuff, it's now what? I've done all the content. There is nowhere else that I can progress to. When you look at games where you're talking about progression, even survival games, DayZ progress or WoW progress, survival game based progress, you're looking at Rust, you're looking at DayZ, you're looking at fucking, even back in the day, H1Z1, Ark Survival Evolved, Atlas, or 7 Days to Die and things like that. Those survival based games, you start off with nothing and your progress is to build up your base. And in those games, you get to a point where you're almost at the apex of everything that you can do. And then it's up to you to find the fun. And when I read this Spectrum post, that's what I see. This person has hit the apex of all the PvE stuff that they can do, and now it's on them to find the fun. And they're like, base building will entertain me until you build a base. And then what? You're gonna build another base? Okay, and then what? Build another base? Go and explore, look for things, go and look at things, go and do a mission. Loki's hot take isn't much of a hot take. That is the objective of what these types of games are. The objective is that you choose what you're supposed to do next. You're in charge of your gameplay. It's called player agency. We need to raid them so they can do it again. Yeah, this is why PvE players, when they sit down and they go, oh, we don't need PvP players, you guys need us. It's no, you guys actually need us. Because when we come in and destroy your base, we give you a reason to rebuild. When we come in and raid your base and steal all your shit, we give you a reason to go, fuck those guys, I'm going to build back up again. And then we come in and do it again. And that's the circle of life. And Devasaur, what you're talking about, for me, this was trading all my bunker loot with players, railguns, rare armor, and so on. Had a lot of fun doing that. That's what I'm talking about, though. You started carving out your own story. And this is something that I recognized very early on with Star Citizen and built Mongrel Squad around this concept. We're not waiting for permission to make piracy happen. We started doing it before we, had physicalized cargo. Long before then, find the fun in the game. And that's what we've always been focused on. The CIG can wipe your credits, they can wipe all your loot, they can wipe the ships that you've bought in-game with credits, but they can't wipe your experiences. So that's what players should really be focused on. The best times that I've had playing any sort of survival game, some players are like, oh, I love base building and make this impressive base, and everybody goes, oh, yeah, wow, that's really cool. But then it's, 5 minutes later, everybody's, looking at the next base and going, oh, wow, really, that's cool. But for me, I look at those bases and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, but what can you do? I still talk about the battles that I've had in Ark Survival Evolved. I had those battles 8 years ago. I talk about battles that I had in a video game from 8 years ago. I'll talk about battles that I've had in Guild Wars 2 when I was in World v World. And that was 12 and 11 years ago now that I had those battles, and I still talk about them. I don't talk about the bases that I built in Ark. I talk about the things that I did. And that's the thing, is building a base is a thing that you do. And it's an experience to build it. What you've built is the result of your experience. But then afterwards, it's all right, well, now what? And this is why I think emerging gameplay is so crucial to increasing the longevity of any game. And this is why, this is the strength of PvP-based gameplay. Because once you've created the systems that you can interact with from a PvP perspective, you put it in the hands of the players and you just let them go. Like giving your kids a bunch of toys and then kicking them outside and saying, hey, go play outside and have fun. Stop and watch them play for a bit, they'll start making up their own games. And it's important for them to do that because it helps jet with their imagination. And I think that's what a lot of people, as we get older, we kind of forget that. We lose our imagination. And, this mentality here, what I read here is that this person is just a consumer. They're not the type of person that will push themselves to create content. Within the Mongrel Horde, we have the pack rat, Stellar Pack Rat Logistics, which provides logistical services to us. They'll provide refueling services. If we want them to take cargo from us, they will do it. If we'll provide them ships to salvage, to generate more wealth. If we need items brought to us, they will bring that. Best rat is pack rat, yes. The cartel, the Merrick's cartel, has a merit bank that you can purchase merits from. And for the player who gets sent to prison, they can quickly get out of prison, but those merits that they purchased, there's an entire narrative behind those merits of where the pack rats going out and mining the Hadanite, and then the cartel picking up the Hadanite and smuggling it into prison and converting that into merits. And then there's the weapon side of things, selling weapons to other players. If somebody has to go out and farm those weapons, and then somebody has to, then we're advertising the selling of those weapons and other players will engage with that player run economy. We don't have to do it. We choose to because we're making gameplay, we're focusing on the experience. The cartel's made over 50 million credits selling merits. And we sell them at a really good rate. We're not price gouging anyone on them. The guys are actually struggling to keep up with the merit demand and having to do regular smuggling runs. I wanted to react to this particular topic because I think this player here is going to be perpetually waiting for the next thing because they want progress, or what they think is progress. But the fact of the matter is they're never going to be satisfied. They're always going to be demanding that new things, new content be added. It's not until you realize that Star Citizen is whatever you make it, that's what will dictate your ability to enjoy the game. And unfortunately, there's certain professions where the mechanics are missing, and I get it, you gotta wait for that sort of thing, but there's enough now to make things work. And you'll have to work a little bit harder to make it work, but that's part of the experience, part of the journey. Persons focus so much on the destination that they forget that the journey that they're taking to get there is actually part of the experience that they should be focusing on. And this is a problem in the community because if you have a look, 233 upvotes on Spectrum, which is a pretty big deal. The portion of the community that interacts with Spectrum, not that great, but when you see posts with that many people upvoting it, and it's only 4 days old, I see a systemic issue. That I don't think COG does enough to encourage players to push themselves to get out there and do things, to think outside their narrow-minded point of view of how the game should play. Which is why, whilst I have my criticisms of the item bank and the kiosks and things like that, this is one of those things where you have to sit down and think about it a little bit longer and interact with it. Regardless of what COG puts in the game, I'll always try and think of a way that I can interact with it to my advantage, right? So this item bank issue, it's a pain in the ass, but I see it as a problem to solve. So my solution to dealing with the item banks is it's painful to deal with, so I want to interact with this thing as little as possible, but I'm not going to stop playing Star Citizen. So how do I still play Star Citizen while interacting with the system as little as possible? Well, I'll pull stuff out of the item bank and I'll put it in storage boxes. And then when I need the stuff, I'll just call up those boxes, go into them, take the stuff out that I want, and then put those boxes away. That's a solution to the problem. Whereas some players will just see that and go, oh, this is shit, and just never play the game again. And just jump on Spectrum. You made a shit system, sort yourselves out, go find a mirror and take a hard look at yourself, as opposed to solving the problem. And that's because they're not as committed to playing Star Citizen. Because they're in love with the idea, but when it comes to playing, a little bit hard. This is a perspective that I think needs to be highlighted and kind of spoken against. The idea of you need to push yourself to find the fun in the game. And if you've done all the PvE content, then start looking at what else you can do. What else can you expand out? And if it ends up being something, oh, I'm waiting for farming gameplay, well, you're shit out of luck there. You're not going to be able to grow stuff, but you could go into Hurston and look for all the different fruits out there and harvest those fruits, I guess. Look for things, find the fun in the game. That's what I mean. You gotta think outside the box and accept that you're not going to have the perfect solution right now, but your gameplay will come. Reminds me of folks who thought Elden Ring would be easy compared to past From Software games and found out it wasn't and then got mad on the internet. Yeah, I think that's expectation management. I'd look at the company as well and be, you guys need to set expectations a bit better, but at the same time, people need to pay attention and do their research. Some people just want their hand held while the content spoon is jammed into their mouth, plain sounds included. That's a great take. I love it. That's it. There's nothing wrong with that to a certain degree. It's when they start saying that the game needs to revolve around how they want to play. That's when I take an issue. If they want that, fine, but don't dumb the game down for me just because you can't be bothered to learn to play the game. Yes, 100%. It's when they try to subvert the game to suit them. Thought they were pretty clear from the company. It was the content creators who said it was easy. Yeah, this is why I have a problem with influencers, and especially when people try and say, oh, I don't have influence, and they've got thousands of followers, millions of followers. It's no, you fucking have influence. Even we have a small amount of influence, and I see it as not taking responsibility for what you say when you turn around and make these grandiose claims. When you put your points across, making sure that you delineate between what is your opinion and what is actual fact. A lot of content creators out there present what they say as fact, and that's a problem.